and a very spooky afternoon. And welcome to you here on the Fifth Quarter Podcast, broadcasting 438 miles between each other. We welcome you inside College Station in Lubbock, Texas, here on Thursday, October 31st. We've got a lot of breakdown here from the last week and looking forward to this week's college football action. I'm George Koff here at College Station, and for my colleague in Lubbock, Desmond McLaughlin here. How you doing, Desmond, on this fine October Halloween afternoon?
Oh, George, you know me. I love Halloween. I'm not gonna start complaining about the weather because I do have friends from up north. I feel for them, struggling. But let's be honest, it's a little colder this year for Texas. I'm not really used to this, but gotta keep on pushing.
Exactly. You got to push through that cold. You got to just keep going, and it's not used to these Texans, to us Texans. But I think speaking of Texas and Texas A&M football and Texas Tech football, Desmond, you ready to get into this this 10th episode of the season, 30th overall?
George.
All right, let's get it. So Aggies took on Mississippi State last week and here in College Station, and my goodness, that was the most complete game I've seen from Texas A&M football in quite a while. I'd almost go back to 2016 against Arkansas to say how complete of a game that was. The game was over at halftime, 28-10 lead. Kellen Mond, he controlled the game, 4 first half touchdowns, finished with 5 total touchdowns. He had 234 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 76 rushing yards, and 2 TDs. Everything was like a well-oiled machine. It just seemed like everything was just going right for the Aggies. What did you take away from that game?
Well, George, I expect something in this game, as I said, and I think I saw in your notes about your prediction of what they would finish up as. Just say, I'll probably agree with that. Which puts them at not a bad record.
No, 8-4. I mean, I'll get to that. I said that A&M, I think, can go 3-1 down this final 4-game stretch, with the loss being to LSU and a win over Georgia. That would put them again at 8-4, which isn't bad. It's not great. That's 4 losses to LSU, Bama, Clemson, and Auburn. 4 very respectable teams.
Do you actually play UTSA next week?
Correct.
Come on.
What?
This late in the season?
Hey, you got to have that November cupcake, baby. It's all about the SEC. That's what happens when you join the SEC. You get a November cupcake, and then you get some harder games in mixed in there. I don't think you should be roasting A&M's schedule when Texas Tech football can't get a win over Kansas. Okay.
Long live the smiles.
We'll get to that in just a second. Let's finish the Aggie recap. Desmond, did you see anything else that surprised you, or you just saw from that A&M game?
No, not really. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Pretty much what I thought was going to happen. I was going to talk about in a sec. I was too busy.
That's fair. What do you think? A&M's a 38-point favorite this week. Do you think they cover? Do you think over UTSA? Do you think they cover, or do you think it's going to be closer than that?
Dang it, the UTSA even has a football team. Come on.
Oh my gosh, Desmond! Wow. All right, I do think A&M's going to try to cover. I've got them winning by exactly 38, 52-14, which would be a push on the spread, but I think 52-14. I think 52 is a pretty good margin against a not FCS team. What's your prediction?
I'm gonna say 45-12, and all UTSA points come off field goals.
Ooh, okay, I like that. As from our goal line stands, I like that. All right, let's move ahead to the elephant in the room here. Desmond, what happened? What happened again in Lawrence? What happened? Texas Tech had a chance to send it to overtime, and you just make a blender there, trying to lateral it back, and Kansas falls on top, wins the football game with a second field goal attempt. Take me through what you were thinking.
Honestly, what I was thinking, George, sorry, completely honest. My thoughts were, why am I still watching this game? Why are we still so close to Kansas? They should not be competing with us. They're supposed to be the worst team in the Big 12 if they are competing with us. Which, if we're going based off those words, would consider us the worst team in the Big 12. If you look at it from that point of view, and they did beat us. I wouldn't say we're the worst. We're definitely probably the second worst.
Okay, who would have thought that Baylor would be leading the Big 12 at this point? I didn't even think that. I thought they would be second. So,
or who'd have thought Oklahoma would have lost last week? Or who'd have thought that? I mean, but Kansas did keep it close with Texas. So, I mean, maybe are we missing something?
I don't know. Texas Tech's at the bottom of the league, and now you go on your second bye week, having to play 4 straight games starting next week. What's the motive here? What does Coach Wells have to do to get his team motivated and try to finish the season strong?
So easy, and I think I've seen it before with other teams. It's easy because, let's be honest, we don't really have a chance at much now besides maybe a bowl game. I think that's what he should be aiming for. Don't be Cliff and not make a bowl game because that's what he got hired for. That's what Cliff got fired for. Not making a bowl game. I just think he needs to instill there's still a season left. Yes, they don't have a chance. Anything in the Big 12, they don't have a chance for any big bowl games. But, they just can't give up yet.
Desmond, the Red Raiders are 3-5, and you have to play West Virginia, Texas, let alone Kansas State, and TCU to finish the season. Do you really think? Do you see 3 wins on the schedule there?
I do. TCU might be a little hard. Obviously, we're not going to beat UT. I do see us beating West Virginia. I do think that we can beat K-State.
Did you see what K-State did to Oklahoma? I'm going to argue this for a second here because Texas Tech right now, based off of the way that they played against Kansas, I don't think they're beat. I potentially think they could go 0-4 today, or maybe 1-3. 1-3 to finish the season.
Which will put them on a worse record than what Cliff did last year.
If they did go 1-3, that would put them at 4-8 to finish the season. That's not good in a first season of the coach. Now, granted, when the Dennis Franchione era in the early and after R.C. Slocum got fired or released from A&M, Dennis Franchione, who was the coach at Alabama, came into A&M, and what did he do? Went 4-8 into either 1 or 2 straight seasons. Either way, it was not fun. That was not, and of course now A&M.
I think that he is doing this whole season without his starting quarterback. He probably did have plans, but whenever your quarterback goes down, you have to change it the whole season. All the plans he has this whole season changed. Because now he's put in Duffy. He's a bad quarterback. He's not a great pocket passer as Bowman is.
Wait, time out. You're telling me that because you're having to now change season because of backup quarterback again? You had that last season. That's called adversity. You can't play through adversity. I'm sorry. I'm gonna play the devil advocate here because you don't. I feel like every team has to go through that. You're telling me that Texas Tech is the one team in the United States in college football this year that can't go through that?
Saying that, I'm just saying that we should give him a little leeway, Coach Wells, before saying this was a bust, because he probably was relying heavily on Bowman's air raid offense, and whenever that went down early, but then he did have time to adjust. Definitely has been in most of the year. He has had time to adjust. He has had games where he showed he's capable. For me, honestly, the 2 things that comes down to me, the defense has been slacking, and they have not been looking for T.J. Vasher enough. He got two receptions that game, about 4 or 5 the game before that. Maybe on other games, like against OK State, we're looking at 11, 12 receptions. They don't look at him.
and that apparently loses you football games. And we mentioned this earlier with TJ Vasher's impact. It has to be big in order for Texas Tech to stand a chance. And I mean, I just don't know what the future is, but do you think that Texas Tech, let's look it down the road here. Let's look in Wells's third year or fourth year.
Mhm.
Let's say they bring in some recruits. Do you think Texas Tech stands a chance to get out of that mediocrity of the Big 12 and try to compete? I remember you said, before I let you respond here, I remember you saying a few weeks ago that or maybe even at the beginning of the season, you said that Texas Tech was the best or maybe the third, fourth best team in the Big 12.
Yes.
Now we're talking about them at the 10th worst.
Mhm.
Your thoughts?
It's these last 3 or 4 weeks, man. Last year, yes, they lost a lot of games, but they kept it close, within a touchdown, within 10 points against like Texas, OU, West Virginia when they had Greer. This year, kept it close with Baylor, who is now the front runner of the Big 12. Should have won that game. I'm over that, whatever. But now, like, it changed. After that Baylor game, it's been different. And now that confidence that I had, where I was like, okay, we're improving. I know we lost to Arizona. We lost OU, whatever. OU's still a really good team. Then we kept it close to Baylor, so I was like, maybe we can, keep playing, keep competing. Iowa State, Kansas. I don't know anymore. That doesn't look good. Doesn't ensure me about the future. But if we do get some recruits, if players stay healthy, we'll just have to see. It depends on how the rest of the Big 12 does too.
Agreed.
Like OU do without Jalen, how would Texas do without Sam? We'll just have to see.
Agreed. I think that's something we'll have to just keep looking at as we get later into the season and as we progress into 2020. All right, let's talk about top 25, and more specifically, let's talk about top five. The first college football playoff rankings come out this Tuesday, so after this week's play, we'll finally get some answers as to what the college football committee the playoff committee is looking at, who's 1, 2, and 3. Desmond, I know we've kind of gone back and forth. Last week, our top fives were I think we had one change, but they're very, very similar. I'll go first. I have changed based off of Oklahoma losing to Kansas State. As much as a lot of people think, oh, that may not be a huge loss, it still is Oklahoma's first loss of the year. They no longer have a spot in my top five, but here's my top five, and this is week number 10. Ohio State still claims the top spot. Nobody's looks like it's going to contend with them in the Big Ten. They're just too good. Number 2, I actually have LSU still. LSU is, in my opinion, the best team in the SEC right now. That LSU-Bama game is going to be exciting to watch. I'm glad that A&M has a bye week because that week means a lot to the playoff committee. You got Minnesota, Penn State. You have Bama, LSU. You have a lot of crucial conference matchups that are going to start kind of figuring out what the stakes are going to stand in as we get to the last 2 weeks of the season. And it's kind of fun to watch what's going to happen when you're just watching and you're not having to worry about your team. Now, granted, A&M's not going to be in the playoff rankings or even close to that. But yeah, I think LSU 2, Bama 3. You could interchange those as well. Bama 2, LSU 3. I think right now LSU has the upper hand, and based off of Tua's status, we don't know what Tua is going to show up against the Tigers secondary next week, so we'll just have to wait and see. Number 4, Clemson moves back up into that 4 spot. I feel like that was just process of elimination. You take out Oklahoma, move Clemson up. Number 5. I don't know if you're going to like this, but I actually have Oregon. I think Oregon might be a sleeper for the playoff. Again, you have to look at it. Their one loss was to an Auburn team that has continued to stay in the top 15, They have 2 losses. Their 2 losses are to number 1, or based off of the AP rankings, is number 1 and number 6, Florida and LSU. Those are
Yeah.
two. Those are 2 losses that you might actually say the 2 best losses. And with Oregon, they actually can be. You could argue that they have the best loss in the country right now to that Auburn team. They've continued to dominate in the Pac-12. They get a big matchup this week against USC. They need Utah to keep winning. If we get an Oregon-Utah Pac-12 championship game, we're looking at a 1-loss champion. And with both of them having 1 loss to get to that point, we're looking at a 1-loss champion that, in my opinion, might be better than the ACC champion. At this point, the ACC is Clemson and a bunch of misfit teams.
Oh.
Sorry, Clemson. You got to hear the truth. So, yeah, I got Clemson 4, Oregon 5, and then if I had to put a 16th in there, I'd put Penn State. And that's just because you got it. I don't think Florida is as good as the other 2 SEC, Bama and LSU. But I do believe Florida will win the SEC East. So it'll be Florida versus the winner of the LSU-Bama game. So we'll see. What about your top 5?
Mine are very similar to yours. Again, I agree with what you said. No one's proven to me. Well, let me put this. Iowa State has proven to me that they're not number 1 yet. So Ohio State's gonna stay at 1. Actually, I'm gonna keep Bama at 2 right now.
Okay.
LSU at 3. So I'll just kind of flip flop what you said.
Yeah, and I think they're very interchangeable because we still don't. They're both very similar teams, and we got to see when they play each other what that results in. Go ahead.
I debated about this one for a long time, and the only reason why I kept them in the top 4 is because last year I debated them, and they proved me really wrong. And then this year they've only had really 1 close game. I think I've been relying on that too much lately because they could have honestly just had a bad game. So I'm going to keep Clemson at 4.
Okay.
And then at 5, I'm going to put Penn State. And I just kind of flip-flopped again what you said. And 6 would be Oregon.
Okay. So we each have the same 6 teams, just a little bit flip-flop. Same top 4 teams, actually. Like, not ranked-wise, but same top 4 teams. Both have Ohio State, LSU, Bama, and Clemson.
Well, 3 of those have been there constantly. But of course, we had to knock off OU just a few spots down due to that loss.
I do believe that the Big 12 champion, let's say that they do have 1 loss, end up with 1 loss. I would put a Big 12 champion in before I put in a Pac-12 champion, because I believe their resumes are very similar. But then you have to look at the Big 12. It's been very competitive this year. All the games, and you mentioned it about 2 minutes ago or 3 minutes ago with the whole Big 12 going back and forth. It's very competitive, and so when you end up with just 1 loss out of that, it means that you've been able to compete even with Kansas, for crying out loud. Kansas is making games close. They put 20 points on Oklahoma's defense?
Yeah.
I mean, how many did y'all put? Y'all put 20 points on Oklahoma's defense?
Yeah, about
I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what how Oklahoma plays. You're still going to have a chance to compete. And that's what I was trying to get to with what I was saying about the rest of the top 25. Pac-12 champion, if they don't lose again, they could be in the playoff. The Big 12 is kind of a conundrum at this point, but hey, College Game Day, you better be listening, because Game Day is going to go to Waco for that Baylor-Oklahoma game. That game's going to mean a lot in the Big 12, especially with the loss that Oklahoma picked up. And let's say Baylor does lose to West Virginia or some random team between now and November 16th. Still means a lot. It means that you still have that chance for somebody to take the upper hand. And this, how last year we said the Red River rivalry, we saw that, and we said, okay, that's going to be the Big 12 championship game. We're going to get a Red River rematch. This Baylor-Oklahoma game could be Baylor-Oklahoma Part 1, and then Big 12 championship game we'll get Baylor-Oklahoma Part 2. Traditionally, that's been a game that's always been close, especially since Baylor's been good RG3 made it close, and then with Baker survived a thrilling game in Waco. I mean, who knows what happens in that game? And it's too early to call that game. That's in 3 weeks. We just gotta wait and see. I do believe the SMU Memphis winner. That's where game day is this week. I do believe that winner will be who represents the group of 5 in the New Year's Six. So this year it's in the Cotton Bowl. I think SMU will be the one that represents, goes to the Cotton Bowl, and I can't imagine their fans won't follow them. Can you imagine SMU at the Cotton Bowl only playing, 25 miles from their stadium?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And we kind of talked about Oregon and Clemson a little bit. The only reason why I kind of wanted to bring up that debate is if you look at their resumes. Oregon, let's say they finished at 12-1. They would have a win over they would have a loss to 11th ranked Auburn. Let's say Auburn stays the same. And they'd have wins over a 25th ranked Washington at the time that they beat them. Arizona State, who would be ranked, let's assume that they get back ranked, or even not, they'd be right on the cusp. Cal, who was ranked, and then Oregon beat them by 10 after they dropped out of the rankings. And Washington State, who's always a very good team, who they beat last week by a field goal or 2 points. And they would have a win over a top 10 Utah in the Pac-12 championship game. Now let's look at Clemson. Let's say Clemson finishes undefeated. They'd be 13-0, but they'd have a win over some random ACC team in the conference championship game, whether it be UNC, Pitt, Virginia Tech. They'd be all unranked. No doubt that would be a ranked on ranked matchup. No way. Then Clemson's resume would have a win over a 12th ranked A&M, a probably ranked Wake Forest. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. 24th ranked Wake Forest, Boston College, and that's about it. And maybe UNC. We'll throw UNC in there, but they would have no losses. So you're looking at who would have the better wins. Who, even though Oregon has one loss, that one loss is the best loss in the country, and Clemson is undefeated. But I feel like a high school. I feel like Katy High School could go through the Clemson schedule and still end up undefeated. So that's just something to think about as we move into the first rankings and kind of once we get those first rankings, we really do get a sense of what the committee is thinking. If they have Clemson at 4, okay, well, then they see that, yes, they are undefeated and that their strength of schedule is not as good, but they're still undefeated. If they have them at 5, oh boy, talk about a talking point right there. So be curious to see what that happens. I'll be on Tuesday, I believe, at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Something like that. I believe we get that first rankings, and we get some college basketball too. I could be wrong, but something like that. Got some big games this week. Florida, Georgia, Florida. Whatever side you're on, you say it differently. In Jacksonville, that's a top 10 matchup, only top 10 matchup of the week. We get Utah, Washington, Oregon, USC, 2 big Pac-12 matchups, especially for the road teams. You get SMU, Memphis. That's a top 25 ranked matchup at the Liberty Bowl. And, of course, seeing if Notre Dame can fall out of the playoff conversation with they take on Virginia Tech at home. All right, Desmond, enough of me trying to just steal the conversation here. We did this topic last year, and I feel like it needs to make a comeback. Trick or treat. In the spirit of Halloween, we have 4 statements that we both believe, whether it's a trick or treat. Trick means that it's just something that it's not going to happen. We don't believe it's something we can buy, something that would happen. Or a treat, which means that, oh yeah, I'm buying it. I am down for it. It's going to happen. It's something that's plausible. I would definitely agree with that type of thing. Our first statement, and I'll go to Desmond's response first, is Baylor can win the Big 12. Trick or treat?
Well, George, I'm gonna say treat. Why would they not? Why don't they have a chance of not winning it there?
You took the words out of my mouth right there. I mean,
they're probably the top spot right now. And also with the Big 12s and the top teams, you really don't know. I mean, saw Texas kind of waver against Kansas. OU lost last week against Kansas State. You really don't know. It's competitive.
And one thing I would add is that the Big 12, I feel like you could reach into a hat and pull out a random name of a team and they'd win the Big 12. So at this point, it's kind of just, eh.
Well, I
But
mean, you gotta lower the teams a little bit, but yeah, those 4 or 5 teams, yeah, I feel like you could do that.
all right, next. So we both believe it's a treat. All right, this next one, and I hope you agree with me, Desmond. I absolutely hope you agree with me. Notre Dame, a 2-loss independent team. They will not play a conference championship game. A 2-loss independent team with their losses to Michigan and Georgia still has a chance at the college football playoff. Is that a trick or a treat?
Big trick.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's way too many teams. Like even if LSU has a loss, Florida ends up with 1 loss somehow. You know, they'll still end up. They're still better than Notre Dame. That's a huge trick.
Oh, agreed. I don't know what the media is saying, but this is just, I don't know why they're still in the conversation. For that matter, I don't know why they're still ranked. They're ranked 16th.
The media loves Notre Dame. I think it's just like, oh, it's such a good school. They just love Notre Dame.
Hey, and we have good friends that go to Notre Dame. I mean,
I'm not,
I'm not hating on them. I'm just hating that, come on, give other schools some credit.
I think this is what Notre Dame needs to do. Join a conference.
Agreed. Go join the ACC. Go join the Big Ten. Go join something and win a conference championship, and then come back, and maybe we'll give you some respect. All right, the third one, Desmond, and this one I feel like could go either way. Minnesota will play in the Big Ten championship game, and could end up in the college football playoff. Trick or treat?
I'm also gonna say trick.
Okay.
I think there's too much firepower going on with the SEC, Big 12, and even a little bit of Pac-12, Utah and Oregon. Because I already know Alabama, LSU, one of them's gonna make it. Even Florida, one of them, like those out of those 3, one of them make it. Someone from the Big 12 will make it. I think so. In my opinion, Ohio State will make it definitely. So then that leaves you with Clemson. That leaves you with probably a one loss Penn State. That leaves you with Oregon, as you said, Oregon, Utah. Like
I agree with you. No, I understand where you're.
In there. Like I'm not bashing. I'm just saying, like compared to those teams I just named.
No, I see what you're saying, and I also said a trick. I said it's easy. That's easier said than done. Likely, it will happen is very low. I do believe Minnesota will get to the Big Ten championship game, though, because the way that the divisions are laid out, they will win their division. But I don't see them winning that championship game. Ohio State, even with Big Ten competition, has just looked like I don't know. They've looked like a textbook that you don't want to read, where it just stays closed and that you don't know what you're going to expect. I feel like that's with Ohio State. They're just so good that nobody wants to mess with them. Nobody wants to try to mess with that situation they call Ohio State Buckeye football. They just want to close it, keep moving forward because they know it's going to be a loss. Speaking of Ohio State, I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Chase Young. I think is his name, Chase Young. He's their defensive end. This guy's a legend. He's got like four sacks against Wisconsin, 1 in each quarter or something like that. Crazy stats. Does he have a chance to win the Heisman Trophy? Trick or treat?
Listen, I've heard about this young man. I've read he's amazing. I think he'll do good in the NFL, but I think it's a trick. I think a quarterback will win it this year. If only other one would be Jonathan Taylor, but I think quarterback definitely win it. And I'm not gonna say who I think will win it yet. I'm not sure, but I think I'm sad. I think it'll be a quarterback coming out of the Big 12.
Oh, wow, that makes it easy to say Jalen Hurts. But when I kind of disagree. I actually say treat, and the only reason is because I feel like this could be the year that we get a defensive player, and considering how big of an impact he's had on the defense, that Buckeye defense has always been kind of shifty. You've had the Bosa brothers who were really good, but it's kind of been up and down. And when you have a guy this good, who's basically the defense, he's had all these stats, and he's the defense. He's the guy you see from the Ohio State Buckeye, that defensive side. And
what was that guy from Michigan a couple of years ago? I remember he was really good.
Jabril Preppers.
Yeah. He was good.
Speaking of Michigan, remember Desmond Howard, who's now the analyst on College Game Day. He was a defensive guy. He won the Heisman.
He was?
No, he was a receiver and special teams. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Charles Woodson.
Oh, Charles Woodson. Okay,
who was defensive. Same. Okay, they both went to Michigan. They were both really good. Same thing, right? Okay, come on, just cut me some slack there. But I will say, I mean, they won. He was a defensive guy. He had huge stats. People are comparing this guy, Chase Young, to Woodson because of the way that the amount of stats. I feel like because of all the quarterbacks being so close, you almost might run into voters going, I don't want to vote for this quarterback or this quarterback because it's so close. I want to vote for this guy who's going to be who may be actually better than these quarterbacks. So we'll see what happens in December.
If I had to choose one player, I know I'm biased because you kind of listen to me. I would choose CD Lamb. Let's be honest. Half of Kyle Mayer's stats come off this man right here.
Exactly.
Defense.
I agree with that. I we'll see what happens in December. I believe it's the day of the Army-Navy game that we get the Heisman Trophy presentation. So we'll see what happens. All right, Desmond. Time to get into the big games of the week. But before we get to the big games, let's recap upsets. Desmond, you picked Houston last week. I know we had some technical difficulties last week, so Desmond, I had to say your picks for you. And you said that you thought Houston was going to upset SMU, and boy, did they give it a try. They came very, very close. And
next week, I'm going to write out all my upset picks. Because I'm telling you, almost every single week, my upset picks lose by 8 points or less every week.
Well, hey, that's sometimes the way that the cookie crumbles. But regardless, so that drops you to 3-6. I finally got on the right side of things, and I want to tell all the haters out there, if you did not believe in me picking TCU, then you're crazy. You're crazy. Okay, TCU had come in. They had won 6 of 7. I believe they had won. They'd won 5 of the last 7 against the Longhorns. They made it 6 of 8. Okay, they just annihilated the Longhorns defense. Offense. Sam Ehlinger throws 4 picks. TCU has like 60-yard touchdowns here and there. They're kicking 50-yard field goals. I don't know why people had Texas as a 2-point favorite. Excuse me, TCU wins by 10. Get some respect of my name. Finally gets the right way on the upset pick. Okay, that's enough of me ranting and going excited. Let's get into this week's games.
It's actually funny. My cousin went to TCU, and we were talking about this about week 4 or 5, and he was telling me he was like, we're gonna definitely beat Texas this year, and I think we have a chance of getting going to the Big 12. And I was like, this dude, he's just biased because he went there. But I mean, they did beat Texas.
Go Frogs! Go Frogs! That's to all my TCU fans out there. Go Frogs! All right, let's get to this week's games. First up, Big 12 clash in Waco, West Virginia against 12th ranked Baylor. So on Halloween tonight, 7 p.m. on ESPN, the Baylor Bears aren't looking for nightmares, okay? They shouldn't get one here. Their running game has improved tremendously. Brewer's gotten better as a quarterback. He's going to carve out the Mountaineer defense, just like you would do to a jack-o'-lantern. You see my Halloween puns here. Nothing spooky happens here in Waco. I got the Baylor Bears by 8. Okay, be close. 38-30. What about you, Desmond?
Well, George, I don't think this one's going to be a high-scoring game. I agree, though. Baylor Bears are going to win this one 45-40.
Yeah, it's going to be close because Thursday night games have always been close this year. I don't know why, but yeah. All right, this game I'm including just because I thought could have been an upset pick, but turns out not really anymore. UAB headed to Knoxville to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. Again, as I mentioned, looking at this game, it was potential for Tennessee to lose at home again, potentially the way that they played. They finally got their mojo back against South Carolina. I think UAB is good. They got 1 loss. Conference USA makes all the difference. SEC prevails in this one. In prime time, I've got the Tennessee Volunteers 34, Blazers 20.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little surprised to see this game in here. I thought maybe there's a little more significance to it, but I agree. I when I saw it, I was like, Tennessee, of course, man. But again, I'm gonna say 28-10. I'm not gonna give them like some huge blowout because you never know.
Yeah. I think, I almost took it off. I thought, but you know what? Hey, upsets happen, and sometimes you got to pick the right upset. Maybe if you had picked them, it would be 8 points or less, but we'll see what happens in Knoxville. All right. BYU and Utah State. Desmond, this is a rivalry that nobody really knows about, okay? BYU, Provo, Utah. Utah State is in Logan, Utah. About 2 hours, I think, between each other. Do you want to know what? Okay, we played this game a few weeks ago when Stanford and Notre Dame, or USC and Notre Dame played each other, and they played for that Irish club, wood club thing. Do you want to know what BYU and Utah State play for?
What?
They play for, it's called the Old Wagon Wheel. This thing is like a 12-foot wheel, like off of think of like the Sooner wagon thing. Think of like a wheel like that. What'd you say?
Didn't it fall down the other game?
Yeah, it did. But think of like a wheel that size, where it's big. And apparently this wheel just gets rolled over between the sidelines based off which team wins. The Utah State Aggies, okay, see where I'm going with this, have won the last 2 years.
I already know.
BYU though has shown that they can play, but that's at home. And this game is in Logan, Utah, for the Utah State Aggies. I don't know why they're called Aggies. They don't really farm much in Utah, but you know what? I got to go with my brethren. I got to take the Utah State Aggies. I got to take the Utah State Aggies by 23. Big. 40-17.
Wow. Well, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I also will go with your fellow brethren. I think Utah State's going to win this game. I have them win this 17-7.
For what it's worth, Desmond, the last 6 games, no matter who's won, Utah State or BYU, have been won by at least 20 points. So there's something to think about when you're watching that game. 9 p.m. on ESPN2. Utah State's currently a 3-point favorite. They project the line to be a little bit closer to giving BYU a chance. All right, Desmond, we're going to the top 10 clash, maybe the bigger game of the week. Georgia, Florida, Georgia. 8th-ranked Georgia against the 6th-ranked Florida Gators. Jacksonville, Florida plays host to this matchup. It's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party rivalry. Oof, mouthful there. Third time in 4 years, it's probably going to decide who wins the SEC East. Bulldogs have not played their brand of football the last few weeks, not against South Carolina. Didn't do a really good job against Kentucky. I don't know what they're going to do this week. They maybe need to get their act together. Otherwise, they might just get shown up and Florida just comes in and just demolishes them. I feel like this is the year that Florida finally takes back the East, finally gets something moving. Dan Mullen has that program in the right direction. And Georgia's a 6.5-point favorite. I don't buy that one bit because even though Florida is the higher-ranked team in this matchup, this is my upset of the week. I've got the Florida Gators winning this game and squeaking by the Georgia Bulldogs 24-23. Give me the upset. Give me the win. Get me back to 5-5, baby. What about you, Desmond?
This is also my upset based off rankings.
Oh. Did you just bark? Did you just bark on our podcast?
Georgia Bulldogs will win this game 23-16. That will be the exact score.
So what does this do for the SEC? Do you think that this helps LSU and Alabama if that result happens?
Well, I mean, because it'll be weird because one of them will end up 2-loss team. So it'll be a 1-loss team playing against the undefeated team, hopefully the SEC championship. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. I got you. We'll have to wait to see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. All right, let's keep moving here. Another Big 12 matchup. TCU and Oklahoma State, both coming off big ranked upsets. TCU beating Texas, Oklahoma State beating Iowa State on the road. Horned Frogs have traditionally struggled when they've traveled to Stillwater, and they've lost big. However, the last time they went to Stillwater, they did win pretty handily. I think that happens again. Stillwater, Oklahoma State has been inconsistent. Chuba, you guys did a pretty good job shutting down Chuba, their running back, really good running back. And for me, I think TCU will do the same. I've got the TCU Horned Frogs by 5, 48-43. What about you, Desmond?
Well, I've been debating about this one, but after listening to us talk about them playing against Texas, you talking about how they play good, still, well, I think TCU. I think TCU is going to win this game, 38-35. Needs to be close. Field goal, late.
Gotta make your cousin proud, huh?
I do. I mean, he did call them being Texas 5 weeks prior, so gotta give him some props.
Exactly. Oklahoma State is a 3-point favorite, so we'd both be taking the underdog.
Has TCU played Oklahoma already?
Who, Oklahoma State?
No, has TCU played Oklahoma?
No, both still have to play Oklahoma.
I think he said they were gonna lose, but keep it close. That's what he said.
Okay. Oklahoma State is a 3-point favorite, so we'd be taking the underdog, and that's on ESPN at 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. All right, Desmond. College game day, game of the week. Memphis, Tennessee is where this stage will be set. Probably the most important day in Memphis football history. College game day is going to be on Beale Street, where the parties are exciting and the bars open at 7 o'clock in the morning. Saturday primetime on ABC is where this game will be seen at the Liberty Bowl. Gotta love it. Two American Conference teams trying to show why it's the most competitive conference in the nation. The Big 12 may have a different say about that. But just like South Dakota State's first appearance on game day, Memphis's first appearance is going to be spoiled. SMU's the better team. I got the SMU Mustangs to ride off into the sunset, 41-33.
George. My dad used to coach at SMU. I think I mentioned that a couple of times. So, all due respect, I do like SMU. I feel like I'm part of the family. But I think they're a little overrated. Maybe we got a little too far ahead of ourselves here. I got Memphis Tigers winning this game. We're going to be singing Justin Timberlake, baby. Because one of this game's going to be low scoring. All right. I got it 17-3.
17-3?
Correct.
Wow. Okay, I would almost thought that would have been your upset, Desmond. Good grief.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I can have better chances with Georgia than Memphis.
Okay, Memphis. I'll give you that. Memphis is a 6-point favorite at home.
Okay.
But you know me, I love a road underdog. So I just think SMU. The way that Memphis had to survive against Tulsa last week with a missed field goal at the very end just does not give me any confidence to root for them. So I gotta go with the Texas pride there for the SMU Mustangs. All right, got 3 games left, and then we'll be out of here. Miami, Florida State. They've had wide right. The first one wide right. The second one wide left. The first time. This defined this Sunshine State rivalry. Both teams are just really bad, though. Willie Taggart and Manny Diaz don't know what's going on for them. I think in a defensive battle, 17-10, Miami comes out on top. Desmond, what about you?
I'm gonna stick with Miami. I'm gonna go turnover belt, and I think they're gonna win this game 24-21. I'm picking a lot of close games. I feel like this week of college football, I feel like there'll be a lot of close ones. You know, I think we had 1 week where a lot of close ones like a couple of weeks ago.
Agreed.
I think it'll be like this one.
All right. Quick pick here. NC State against number 23 Wake Forest. Big test for the Demon Deacons. Clemson looms for them in 2 weeks. I got Demon Deacons 37-26. Go.
All right, George, I agree. I think Wake Forest is going to win this game. I think about 17-10. I'm honestly a little surprised that they're still ranked. That they're ranked.
Maybe they got to give Clemson something to put on their resume. Try to keep them ranked all the way through to that battle in 2 weeks. That game's on at 11 a.m. on ESPN. PN, excuse me, not PM, PN. All right. Sunflower Showdown, the game we've kind of been talking about a little bit. Kansas State comes in now actually ranked 22nd in the nation, travels to Lawrence to face the Kansas Jayhawks. Both teams are coming off one of the greatest days in the state's history of football. Kansas State beating Oklahoma, Kansas shocking the world with Texas Tech, winning against Texas Tech. Back and forth battle gives Kansas State the edge, in my opinion, and they'll claim bragging rights for the 11th time in a row. I've got the Kansas State Wildcats winning by 3, 40-37.
George, going with yet another upset this week.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk. Oh my gosh, Desmond! Wow.
George, look. Let's just look at it though.
Make it quick.
So let's look at this. Let's look at the resume. They played Texas, right? Oh, sorry. I'll try to be quick. They played Texas, kept it close. Texas, very good team. Played Texas Tech. All right, not a very good team. Whatever. Yeah. And they they won. All right. They're gonna win this game. They're gonna win this game. It's gonna be 35-24. I'm putting my trust in you, Les Miles. Bring back those good old LSU days because I need my record to go up.
I'm shocked. I'm truly shocked with some of
How
these picks.
George, you said the game was 3 points.
So I still think the Wildcats are the better team in this one.
Oh my.
Desmond, let me give you some stats about this rivalry. Kansas State is looking for their 11th win over Kansas in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas has not won in Lawrence since 2008. Do you remember what happened in 2008? That was when Kansas went undefeated and then lost to Missouri at the final game of the year. Okay? That was the last time Kansas was relevant.
Oof.
In this game, the most combined points between both teams has been 80 points. I'm already taking the over on that, or the under, correction. I said 40-37. That's 77 points. There's no way that this game is going to get out of hand. It's going to be close, but Kansas State's going to win. It's going to give them another win on their resume. Les Miles is going to use this win to go and win however many he has to get people going about Kansas football. I just don't see Kansas winning at home. I mean, they did it. They had to have a miracle, a prayer answered last week against Texas Tech to get a second chance at a field goal. They may miss a field goal for all we know because their kicker isn't capable of kicking a field goal in this game. Let's move on from this because we gotta finish here before people start getting upset at us for not keeping it under 45 minutes. All right, our scary good game name is pretty good for this week, the scary good game. We did not get Nebraska right last week. They didn't even win. They didn't even cover. It was just bad. So we are sitting at 4 losses against the spread. Desmond, you're 3-4. I am 4-4. This one is Virginia and North Carolina. North Carolina is a 2-point favorite. The ACC Coastal Division has been all over the place. I think because of the home team, I'm giving. I'll take UNC and the points. UNC covers at least by 2. What about you, Desmond?
Wow, I was gonna say the exact same thing. I like UNC. I think I told you this at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, the Fighting Back Browns, right?
Yeah, I like them. So of course I'm gonna say they're gonna win more than 2 points.
Exactly. All right. And that game's on the ACC network at 6:30 p.m. from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. All right. Before we wrap it up here with our small school outlook, Desmond, guess what? The second year in a row, small schools bowl eligible, baby, before November. Let's go. Let's go. Wyoming got a win over Nevada last week. I don't know what the final score was, but now they're 6-2. Doesn't matter. Record only matters in that conference. They get a bye week, and they will be facing the Boise State Broncos in Boise, Idaho next week. Their biggest challenge yet. I have no doubt that they're going to bring the Cowboys spirit and they will win the football game next week. We'll talk about that more next week, but I think this is a perfect bye. It's kind of like a bye before Alabama. You have the chance to prepare even more. And so I got to take my Cowpokes. What about you in Houston?
Well, George, second year in a row where my small school team loses by 7 points almost every game. Let's go. Well, they lost to SMU by 3. That was my upset pick. Every single week, my upsets always get so close. But if you go to play UCF, it's not gonna be pretty. I know it's not gonna be pretty. Speaking of UCF, let me just say that. Where'd they go? Wasn't this the same team that was bragging that they could beat Alabama, that they were undefeated and deserved a chance in the football playoffs?
I mean, who knows? But either way, UCF's going to wear some pretty cool unis. They've got some space-inspired moon landing type forms where they have they've got like craters on the helmets and like cool font type, and I don't know, it'd be kind of cool.
They better win. If you lose, play good. I mean, if you lose, you know that thing, look good, play good, and you lose, you're just gonna look good while you lose.
Hey, look at TCU last week. They had those hideous uniforms and they still won. I mean, I'll give the next person $20 to put red on a TCU uniform. If that happens, I will personally come and find you and give you $20 because the red looked absolutely hideous. Looked awful. I'm sorry, it looked awful. But that's enough talk from me. We're going to hit the buzzer on this episode. So tune in next week to hear about Desmond breaking down why his upset picks never win. They always lose by 7 or 8 points or less. And tune in to hear me talk more about why uniforms should just be classy, not over the top. Signing off for the fifth quarter here on Halloween. Be sure to go get your candy and trick or treat safely. Saying so long from College Station here. I'm George Koff, and for my colleague in Lubbock,
Desmond McLaughlin,
saying, wishing you a very happy Halloween from the Fifth Quarter podcast. So long, Aggies, Recom Tech, and adios.